The reason we exist is because you cannot stay ahead of all threats. It's impossible to detect every threat out there before it becomes an issue. So what we do is we block by default. And when you block everything by default, it really doesn't matter if it's known to be bad. If it's not on the list, it cannot run in your environment. And that is our core focus. Zero trust principles, block first, limit what applications can do. And the other stuff, yes, we chase the threats, we hunt the threats, we do everything else, but that's the backup. The core of ThreatLocker is zero trust. The team is the real part of it. Cyber heroes, we call them, and they range from everyone from the marketing department right through 24-hour, 365-day-a-year support to our clients, which is less than 30-second response time. We've got some of the most advanced threat intelligence team, advanced development teams in the world, and we're constantly hiring and growing that team. And that's what allows us to deliver the best service.
Good morning and welcome back to episode 5-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 100 Days webinar series. You'll be glad to know we're really prepared and well off.
They'll also be glad to know that Rob's back.
Yeah, Rob's back. You know, we had a whole week of no Mac.
A whole week of no Mac, yes. But we also had, and I just want to put everybody or put any rumors that are floating around to rest. So people seem to think that I was basically putting the sin bin for my flagrant display of Mac love a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to put everybody's mind at rest. Yes, I was.
Well, he was sent to San
Danny
Francisco.
Demoted me and sent me to San Francisco as a punishment for my Mac love. So yeah, I'll know better in future not to express any preferences.
Yeah, so we switched our Canadian friend back out to Irish friend.
Yes, granted, there was still a beard involved.
Yes, and more hair.
Yeah, but significantly more hair.
Okay, so let's recap on what we should have done by now, because at this point, everyone's starting to feel a little bit tired, and hopefully feeling a little bit tired because they've started to do things, take actions.
The donuts may have also worn off by this stage.
Yes, so week 1, we deployed a test group. So we decided on an agent. We deployed an agent to a test group of users that were going to monitor file activity, elevations, executions, network activity, and executions. We called them the guinea pigs, if I recall rightly, and we purchased some donuts, maybe. We did some initial policy adjustments, so we set a password protected screensaver for that test group. At this point, we should be starting to consider to do that for everyone except kiosk monitors.
And Danny's computer in his office.
They're kiosk monitors.
Oh, okay.
On the screen. Okay, I have some TVs on the wall that tell me if someone's not picking up chats in time. So and follow infrastructure is looking good. Turned off the Windows keylogger, or better known as Getting to Know You.
Getting to Know You.
And we identify apps that ran as a local admin. So we should have a pretty good idea now, at least on that test group, of what apps are running as a local admin. Just a reminder, you can go to the Unified Audit and filter by Elevate to see what is running as a local admin, and document local admin accounts. We gave us PowerShell script to get this, but we also have it in the ThreatLocker portal and when they last logged in, and should have got rid of the ones that aren't logging in, because if they're not logging in, they can only do bad. And did a port scan of the outside of the network. So that was quite a busy week 1. Week 2, we went through the Unified Audit in ThreatLocker, so we were looking at how to search for files, how to search for executions, how to search for elevations. We created some USB test policies for the test group, policies to block. I think we put a couple of options out there. The first was to block USB drives completely, if you could. The second was to block non-encrypted USB drives. And the third was to create an alert on the mass use of USB drives if someone was copying a large amount of files. We did some reviews of the application environment. We should have removed local admin rights at week 2 for any unused admins, and implemented a policy to allow only specific programs to run as an admin. So you should know, at least on your test group at this point, what should be running as a local admin. Disabled Office macros, and that probably made you really popular in the finance department. And disabled, we turned on monitoring of SMB version 1, and by now we should be disabling it, and turned on BitLocker on your test servers to make sure that no problem is going to occur. And purchase domains, spending money with similar spellings. We might have bought about 100 domains in ThreatLocker over the last few weeks ourselves, so... Okay, now week 3, we started simulating deny. So remember, we don't want to upset the users. So what we did is we went into the Unified Audit. We said, show me everything that was going to be denied. And we started showing how you can make exceptions in network control and in application control, which he went into week 4 on this. And hopefully we got some machines secured for the test users at least, or at least the quietest test users. We wanted to create a deny inbound traffic on workstations. So we should have gone through the inbound network traffic on workstations. Most workstations don't need to receive inbound traffic. If they are, it tends to be IT pushes and things like that. So only from the IT computers, and created dynamic ACLs where we did need to allow inbound traffic. We should have restricted outbound traffic on at least the test servers. And it said start with test servers. And we can, no problems, we can start expanding that to other servers at this point. Blocked SMB version 1 and blocked SMB ports by default on those test servers at least. Week 4, this is when you were away, is it?
Yes, when I was in San Francisco.
We turn off the VPN. Use MFA where possible. So we want to start
advice. MFA everything.
So remember, don't forget your domain accounts. Don't forget your GoDaddy, your Namecheap, all of those accounts where you register your domains. They're really, really important. If someone gets access to your domain, they can do a lot of damage. And SMS authentication should be avoided where possible. SIM stealing or SIM
swapping.
SIM swapping is
still a problem.
Still a problem where somebody calls up Verizon. It doesn't matter if you've locked your phone. Apparently they ignore it. They allow them to transfer it out, and then they've got access to your phone, which means they can receive your text messages. So SIM cards or text messages is a bad way of
the least. It's better than nothing, but it's the least good option.
Well, it's probably worse.
Well, okay, fair enough.
So I won't say which product, but I remember a security product that their second factor was a second password that would only ask you 2 of the 5 characters of.
I see.
That was an interesting second factor. Won't give names. Conditional access. So last week was very much focused on Office 365 conditional access. So we showed you how to put some policies in place in a report-only mode, and we're going to bring Adam back to go through and get these into a restricted mode soon. We showed you how to restrict countries and brand Office 365. So hopefully at this point you've at least branded your Office 365 tenant, so your users are getting your company logo. Again, anyone can spoof your company logo. This isn't really that much of a security feature, but if you can make your users see something different, that helps.
Yeah, agreed.
And that was week. And then we're now on week 5. So what are we going to do on week 5?
Web content.
Web content.
Yes.
43% of companies in a 7-day period across ThreatLocker's customer base had at least one employee go to an adult website on their work computer. Yes.
Is this a made-up statistic or an actual one?
This is an actual statistic.
43%? I'm surprised it's that low, to be honest.
That seems... I mean, I guess it's only one employee in the company. So 43% of companies, organizations out of the 50...
Craig agrees. Only 43%? Question mark.
I just thought everybody knew their work computer was monitored.
Obviously not.
So we want to focus on making sure people are using their work computers for work. And often we're thinking about web content as adult sites and gambling sites and sites that you want to block. Malicious sites are really important. But also, other things you'd think about is project management sites. Shadow IT is a real problem. And we even have problems in ThreatLocker, believe it or not.
Okay, I think we're going to... All the marketing people in the room, close your ears, because Danny's going to give out about you now.
Yeah, well, the screens may go dead in 30 seconds, but our marketing department like to use their own project management software, go off and buy their own tools without telling anyone, getting a security audit done of it or anything else. So one of the cool features you can actually do as well is make sure you block project management tools that aren't approved by your business, or Shadow IT, or the cloud storage application. So Dropbox, Box, if you don't use it, if you don't permit it, just block it. And if somebody wants it, then they can request it. They can go through a proper security audit. So it's not just about blocking adult sites. What else have we got? Browser extensions and rolling out the agent to the rest of the machines. So at this point, I think at the end of last week, I said you should be about 60% through rolling out the agent to start monitoring on your machines, not blocking down, whether it's a ThreatLocker agent or another agent, but something that's going to catalog all this data. But at this point, you should be really pushing that out, getting the last of those machines and making sure that all of those machines are in monitor-only mode. And I'm going to show you here on my screen how to extend the monitor-only periods. By default, it's 3 weeks, but I'm going to show you how you can extend it. So if you can just bring up my display there. So in the computers page here, if you've got the computers already installed and you want to extend the maintenance period, so by default, bear in mind they go into learning mode. We can say schedule maintenance, and we could extend it out. If we wanted to do 3 months, we can always change it. We can just say application control learning here, computer. This means it's going to learn applications on a per computer basis. Don't check this box because the user will get a pop-up saying, do you want to end it? And
if
then
they get a pop-up, they'll click it.
Then you can hit start maintenance. If it's before you've installed the agent and you want to extend that period, you can go into the groups page here. You can pick the group you're going to push out to, and you can say the default period is up to 45 days, or you can just say indefinite, which is like 10 years or something.
Yeah, don't do that though. You will forget.
Yeah, that's it's a big problem. So you can extend it out as well here. Now, bear in mind, although we are making a change on this based on request, if you change this to 45 days, it will not change existing computers in your organization. It will only change new computers that are installed after you change this group setting. We are making a change where you can go in and you can say, do you want to update existing computers? But for now, you have to go into the computers page and update the computers as well to a longer period if you don't want to lock them down just yet. Okay, so let's talk about web control then. How and what should you be protecting? There's 2 areas. There's your computers. They're the most important area. The devices you look after, your computers, laptops, servers, desktops, and you want to be able to protect them at home as well as at work, because there's nothing worse than somebody going home using your company laptop to go to bad websites and then bringing that back into your network and accessing your resources with it. So we want to think about, how do I protect the laptop itself? So any kind of web filtering you're using, you want an agent-based web filtering that protects your devices, not just your networks.
Yeah, everywhere.
The other area is your network itself. And there's 2 different ways you can do this from your network. One is you can use DNS-based web filtering, and the other one is you can do a firewall-based filtering, both of which are very difficult and tedious to manage.
Yeah.
The DNS one, the challenge with, well, both of those, they don't know who the user is unless you're using an authenticated proxy server. Of course, you can do an authenticated proxy server. They don't know who the user is, so when something does get blocked, it's kind of, hey, this is blocked.
It also requires changing DNS on a machine, which is inherently risky.
Yes, well, you know what they say. When something's broken,
it's always DNS.
It's always DNS. So if you're using ThreatLocker, this is really, really easy. You can go into modules here. You can go to web control. If you're an existing customer and you don't have it turned on, you can go into organizations here and you can turn it on here. No, this shows you what's included in your subscription. This shows you what isn't included in your subscription. If it's not included, just call your account manager, ask for a price on it. They'll look after you, I'm sure. And once it's on, you can go into here. You can see all sorts of cool, let's go 90 days, see if I can get any requested. All sorts of cool information. So project manager is my most requested. I may have a gambling problem.
It certainly appears so.
Dating.
Dating. Interesting. Well,
who was in my org?
I don't know. Let's find out. What's the dating site?
Can I click on? Oh, it doesn't actually. So if I go into my...
The matchmakingcompany.com.
There you go. Oh, that's someone's telling us on the questions.
No, I can see it on your screen.
Oh, look, it is.
It's a red one. And it looks like you've gone to it quite a few times.
eHarmony as well. Apparently, someone's gone to it on my demo org.
Sure. Someone has gone to it in your demo org.
All I remember, Rob, is I looked at your ChatGPT history and it said, describe a dating profile for me.
Oh, that was for Greg Jones.
Yeah.
No, that's for Greg Jones.
Was it?
Yeah. Wasn't for me. Thank you.
Okay. So here gives it a nice snapshot of what's being allowed, what's being denied in your organization. You can go into policies here and you can choose the types of things you want to allow and deny. We have a list by default already in there. If you did sign up for web filtering really early on, you may not have this list. You may have created it by yourself. You can go off and create new policies and add them. Here's a little tip. If you delete the policies you have, if you've got 2 policies and you want to default it back to the beginning, go into the organizations page, turn off web filtering, turn it back on again. It'll go, oh, you've got no policies. I'm going to go and create them all for you. And it will create them all in an allow state to begin with. So you can go into policies and then you can just literally toggle to say, I want to block malicious. I want to block explicit. I want to block advertising trackers. And I want to block weapons, controlled substances. I know in Florida.
I was going to say, how dare you?
That's a dangerous game here in Florida. But you can choose what you want to block, the types of categories. And what's really cool is you can then make exceptions per website. So user goes on to here and say that I'm not going to demo with any too inappropriate site. What was that website? DraftKings.com? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so if I go to DraftKings.com, and it's going to get blocked. And one of the cool things about ThreatLocker is we have this nice interception. We're not going to get, when you're using DNS, you're going to get this SSL error or something like that. But with ThreatLocker, we're going to block at the kernel level on the endpoint. So if someone's at home, it will actually tell you who the user is that blocked it. We have a nice browser extension that it gets automatically added. Even if it's not added, the user can't bypass it. It's going to block it. It just won't give them the nice message. They can then request it. And if you want to approve that website, you can click on here, and I could just go in and say, I want to approve DraftKings.com. And I could say for this computer only or the entire organization, and it's not going to allow the entire gambling. Oh, little note, cool feature we have in ThreatLocker, it's worth noting. You can put banners for approvals that are required.
Don't approve gambling for Danny, he's got a problem.
Maybe.
Okay.
So we can go in here and say, and you have to accept the banner. So if you have a CEO, this is really cool because on the application control, it will show at the top and you say, hey, I'm just not going to fight with the CEO. He wants to play games on his computer. You could actually put a note here. So when the person comes in and somebody requests, I don't know, what's the game? Minecraft. Yeah.
That works.
It's going to say, approve games for the CEO because he's very mad if I don't. And the support app engineer will actually get that banner and it's required to see it. But here I just say approve. I can say for a period of time. Maybe we're doing a big deal for DraftKings and we don't want to block DraftKings from our sales department, so we'll allow that one website. What it does in the background goes off, creates a policy for that one website. The user gets a pop-up relatively quick saying you can now go to DraftKings. And it's very, very easy. So if I go to DraftKings.com, boom, I can now go into DraftKings.
We've got a bunch of questions.
Go ahead.
Are there any limitations on allow/block lists in web control? We currently use a vendor that limits how many allow block entries we can enter.
No.
That's fine. Nice, easy one.
I will say one thing, though. Although, if you're importing hundreds of sites, I would recommend the way you do it is by a tag. And you can use ThreatLocker tags, or you can go in and create your own tags. Now, I think you'd be talking about thousands or tens of thousands before you had any negative impact. But if you go into tags here, these are essentially lists. And what's nice about these, so I could say allowed sites, and then I could put DraftKings, put Paddy Power, Bet365. I could add all these into here. And then I could allow that tag inside a policy. And the reason I would recommend that if you're doing like thousands and thousands is it's a lot quicker to process, because what happens is we go and do a direct index match on that as opposed to iterating through the policies, which it would take a lot to notice, but definitely a good idea if you're doing that.
It's also been requested, and I believe is being done, that you can import from CSV a list of sites. It's something that was quite regularly asked for by a number of customers. So we're going to give them the ability to import from CSV. Kevin has asked what browsers are supported by the extension.
Anything Chromium based, and Firefox, I believe, has an extension.
Firefox, if it's not, it's coming.
Oh, is it
Don't know
coming?
if it's a thing.
Maybe it's coming on the Mac.
I don't know. I believe Firefox is coming.
But anything Chromium based, you can use the Chromium based extensions.
Craig has asked, can you grant the ability to just manage web filtering and nothing else in the ThreatLocker portal?
Yes, or every page is set on permissions, and you can say just allow web filtering in the ThreatLocker portal, and you do that through users here. The best way to do it is create roles. So if you create a role, and you could say web content manager, and then you'd go into here and type web control, edit web control policies, view web control policies.
A couple of other ones. Does web control block proxy? I presume that means proxy traffic, but I would imagine the answer is yes.
Okay, so this came up recently. If you have a proxy server and web control, it can cause some problems, because what's actually happening is we're connecting to the same IP address every single time. So if the first one's allowed, it will then allow the second one, and the second one's allowed, it will allow the third one. We have a new thing in beta. It's got to have the latest agent. It literally just went out today. And if I go into here, you'll see there's a disable network cache, and you specify the IP address
of your proxy server.
Of your proxy server in there. And when you specify that IP address, it will say don't cache, basically go every single time. So that way it doesn't remember to allow. Outside of that, it doesn't block proxy, but it's the only thing that, maybe the question was proxy servers like, not this type of proxy server, but proxy servers as in, can you go to block proxy sites?
Oh,
That's a good question.
possibly. They
Do we
may.
have a category for proxy sites? It's probably under something like, there's a whole bunch of education, marketing, social media, peer-to-peer, cloud. I don't know if it'd be peer-to-peer. Let's see what categories we got. We got more here. These are the common ones that everyone uses. If not, I will go and find out. So we have a list of proxy sites. You can also block unknown. So there is something called, there's just a lot of sites. Proxies and VPNs anonymizers.
Boom.
There you go.
Nice.
You can add that as a block. It should probably be in our default.
Bunch of other ones. Does Web Control System do any sort of malicious scanning like Microsoft Safe Links or things of that nature?
So the web control will tell you if it's going to malicious sites. We don't scan the link as such, but we will go to malicious sites. Actually, that's kind of true and kind of not true. So when you go to something uncategorized, we do a scan of the site then. So what you can, and typically automatically we'll tell you if we'll block first, but within a few minutes we'll either allow it or deny it. And then it goes to a human for a manual review. So if you were to create a policy called uncategorized and you were to pick the category unclassified. So
now, just while you're on that page, we're going to answer another question, which is Rachel asks, can web filtering be done by user or is it by workstation?
You can do by user, group,
Perfect.
workstation.
Two in one.
The policy applies to a device, and you can also apply them to DNS servers. So we have the ability here to set up DNS servers. You can go into here and basically you put in your office IP, type in your IP here, and then then you redirect your DNS to our DNS servers, and it will tell you if there's a problem. It will tell you if something's blocked. Now, bear in mind, when you're using DNS, it's just going to say, this is blocked. You can't do a request because it doesn't know who it is.
It's for unmanaged devices, really.
Yeah, we have it on our phones network.
Yeah.
And actually, it bit me when I came in here because this laptop was for some reason connected to the phone's network, this demo laptop. And I was like, why is it not giving me an option to request? And it turns out. So you can add DNS. And when you apply your policies, you can have different policies for DNS servers. So obviously, if you're using DNS filtering, we don't know the username. But if you're using a device, we do.
A couple of other ones. So somebody's asked, does Web Control require the browser extension to block things? Shorter answer is no. It's just to make the user experience better. Anonymous attendee has asked, is there a default deny in Web Control? So every site would be blocked and then we would need to allow a category.
So what you do is you essentially allow, that's what I was saying, you have the category. So when you go into your categories here, there's one called unclassified. So you can add this category and where do I click? And I'll say deny, end user experience, allow the user to request. And then I should definitely put that at the bottom because otherwise that's going to block everything. So I'm going to put that into policy ID 31. I'll just say 100 just to make, I should have said at the bottom when I created it. There you go. So you could do that. It will block everything that is unclassified. That's really good for schools.
Again, similar question. Can Web Control be used for mobile devices? So that's where DNS comes into it. Or is it?
No, that's where DNS comes in.
What if you're not somewhere with?
Also, we don't have a browser for the.
It's Hunter. Is there any plans to add more integrations around approval requests? So presumably he's talking about Web Control. For example, if something is flagged in VirusTotal, it requires 2 admins to approve or requires a certain role permission to approve.
It's never been asked for before. So I think it's a good suggestion. One of the things you can do, and if we can't do, you'll be able to do very soon, is require that all approval requests are done through the testing environment. But there was no scope on that to say that if the testing environment gives you red marks, then you can't.
That's a good suggestion, Hunter.
It's a suggestion. Rob, look, you got Rob on the call.
Yeah, exactly. Carl, so can we block browser extensions? Or so we can block browser extensions, and you've always been able to block browser extensions with application control.
Maybe this is a good gateway because one of the things you can do here, we can pick a category. This is application control, not web control. But I can go into here and say, show me all my browser extensions. And it will show me all of the browser extensions I have in my environment. It will also show me what countries they were developed in, and it will show me what permissions they have. So what our research team do is every time we see a new browser extension come up, they go and categorize it. Sometimes you'll see unknown browser extension, but that tends to be short-lived because they will actually go and categorize it. So they know this extension here is Coopert. They know it has access because they'll look at what permissions it requests in the browser. So it has access to the internet. Also, worth noting, it also has access to your internal network that is hosting web servers or any, because it can just do network calls in general. It has access to web data, and it has access to any of your passwords. So what that means, if I go on to Microsoft.com or BankOfAmerica.com, type in my password, the browser extension can see that password. Not saying that they'd steal it. Chinese companies would never steal your passwords. But it's good to know that this has where it's made, what it has. Is there really a business value for this, given the risk? So you can go into here.
That filter is something that's really important and something people should look at, because if you've got, a lot of machines in an environment, looking at which browser extensions are permitted will probably scare you.
Yes.
Because often it's hundreds of browser extensions, if not thousands in some cases. So
this one is used a lot.
Mhm.
Cooper, we see a lot on a lot of organizations. So knowing what permissions they have is really, really important. Knowing what they are. And you can filter as well by type. So here's a browser extension type, but they could also have shopping as a type, for example. So you can say, who's got coupon clippers? And it will show me that I've got Amazon. This is also software. It's not just showing browser extensions. It's got Coopert. I don't know. Oh, these are going under the browser extension because I didn't remove that one.
Just to answer a question, Raphael, could there be a default deny of browser extensions? There is.
Well, there is. When you block, when you use application control, it blocks browser extensions. Technically, if you wanted to go and block browser extensions without blocking applications, you could do that. You'd have to create custom rules saying, essentially, if it's in the extensions folder.
Manifest.json.
Well, it's the whole folder now because they got smarter. You could create a custom rule. But if you, by default, with application control, it blocks all untrusted software, including extensions.
Interesting question from Rachel. Can you disable web password managers?
Well, you can disable.
So you can block the extensions. And we also have in the community, I believe, storage control policies to control access to even locally stored passwords in browsers.
Also, okay. So in storage control, you can block the Chrome passwords from being saved.
Correct. Or Edge.
Which is an odd way of doing it, but it's just the way. I'm sure you can do it through Configuration Manager as well. The other way is you can block Keeper and things like that. Again, it's just a browser extension. So if you were to go off and I was to say, add to Chrome Store, add extension. So I shouldn't have a policy for Keeper. And eventually it's going to take a second, but it's going to pop up and say it's blocked. There you go. So this says this is not allowed. When me as a user clicks request, I can see information about this. So I can see what it has access to, and I can just send the request.
Again, just to explain, this is a function of application control, not web control.
This is application control, yes. And in here, it tells me the browser extension. I'm surprised Keeper didn't come up as a matching app. I'm very surprised, unless that's not the real Keeper. Oh, that's not the real Keeper. That's why, because that's a Keeper I've never seen before.
Well, that's actually a really interesting one and a very good point. If it doesn't match the built-in,
it probably is a really unknown app.
Yeah.
Because that's saying we've never seen this before, which is highly unlikely that we've never seen Keeper. So when I actually try and add the real Keeper now, it's going to give me another block.
And it should match.
It says it's blocked. And now when I hit request, it says, hey, you're requesting access to Keeper. We know what this is. Made in Ireland. I did not know that.
Good Keeper.
The US. And what it will have access to, obviously, a password manager needs access to your passwords. That's reasonable. So I can send that request. And when I go to approve that, I can see it matches Keeper. Oh, this has got the Digital Vault. It's a package where it has the desktop app, or I can just do the Chrome extension. Yeah, if you're downloading a common app.
I was going to say, well, that dodgy version of Photoshop you're trying to run on your machine, if it doesn't match a built-in, you should probably think twice about it.
If you download any common app and it doesn't match a built-in, then you're going to question, is this really what it says it is, or does someone go to a bad website and download the wrong app?
Simon just asked, any chance you can remove the save passwords for Chrome from Chrome and Edge? That's the storage control policy in the community we mentioned.
Okay. Next thing is looking at risky applications in general. We kind of jumped ahead onto the browser extensions part of this. But one of the things I'd like everyone to do now is they've got ThreatLocker deployed. They should have it deployed for 60% of their org, hopefully at least. I want to start looking at what you don't want. And there's a few different things you can do here. The first thing, you can go into the application filter here and we can start filtering by category. And one of the things I really want you to pay attention to is remote management software. This is things like TeamViewer, AnyDesk. If this is in your environment, if you expect it to be in there and you are happy with the security of it and you've put dual factor and everything's good, then that's fine. But if you don't expect it to be in there, then start asking, why is this on my machine? A couple of things here useful. How many computers these policies apply to, how many policies there are. So there's one organization policy in this case, one organization and one group policy in that case. But both cases, there's an org policy, so it applies to the group. This applies what countries they were developed in. You can see that as well. Really, really useful. Remote access software is one that you should pay attention to. Shopping tools is another one, not because it's particularly high risk as remote access tools, but it's also got very little business value. So you can look at shopping tools, say, do I really need this in my org? You can see some other filters here as well. The other one is the health report. So go into here. If you see something you don't like, you can either delete the policy. Now, if you're in learning mode, it's going to come back, or you can switch the policy to deny. So I could literally go into here. I think I can do it from here, can I? I can delete it, or I have to click into it, and I can just say, actually, I want to switch this to deny. Now, a couple of things to note. When you hit deny here, you can actually not select this box, which means the user will not have the option to request it. It will just be a hard Windows access is denied when you try and run this application. So switching them to deny, really useful. Focus on the high-risk apps. Again, do the test groups first so you don't block something that's really important. But at this point, we should be going through and blocking them. High-risk.
Do you want to mention as well the secure mode and the inherit in that context? Because that is important as well.
Yeah, so here we have this option to say whenever you put a deny policy or a ring fence policy in place, and I'm going to pick something for ring fencing because the other filter we can do here. So let's say I'm going to filter by where the code was compiled. This is actually a little bit more complex than where the code's compiled. It's really country of influence. So it includes code compiled as a big area, but also if you are an American company with your CEO in Moscow, or were funded by the Chinese Communist Party, we're going to heavily put that in there so you can see it. But if I go into here and say Russia, just because that's a topical one still, and we can see here I've got 7-zip running in Russia. So now I have two options. I could go and say, one of my customers is a big federal DoD agency. I don't want to really run Russian software. Not that I really like 7-zip, it's good. So I could go in, I could say I'm going to deny this, or just delete the policy if we're in secure mode, so I could switch this to deny. Or let's just say I say, well, I really need 7-zip. It's really important. I do lots of 7-zip files. I can actually go in and start restricting it. So I can say, this can't talk to any other applications on my computer. So it can't call PowerShell, it can't call Register, it can't call anything else. I don't want it to be able to see any files. And then suddenly I realize I try to zip a file up and it says you can't zip it up. So in this case, what I've done is said it can read files, and it can only write 7-zip files. 7-zip can actually be used to encrypt files, which is really useful. And the next thing I can do is say, I don't want it to go out to the internet except the following domains. Now, I don't think 7-zip needs to go out to the internet at all. I think I added this in one day as a test, but you can put exceptions in. By doing these things, it means the amount of damage that the application can cause is limited. And even switching it onto, it can't make changes to the registry at all. Now, if you're not sure if this policy is going to break your application, switch this to monitor only mode. When you do that, so you have secured mode, this means immediately it's going to start blocking. We have secured monitor only mode. Once I've saved that, if I now go into the unified audit, and I can do it actually right from here. So if I go into application control, so let's just find my 7-zip policy. I can click right on this icon here, view all instances of it in the unified audit. It will show me every time the program's run. But if I put this filter in, I can also say simulate denies. So it will show me everything that would have been denied. So if you made a mistake, you can go in and add, oops, I didn't realize 7-zip needs to talk to the server on the internet. I'm going to add that as an exception.
Charles has asked, why is the option of creating a deny from the response center request still not available? Went away when we swapped from classic portal to new portal. Now, I suspect the answer to that question is sitting beside me.
Because it's already denied. So And I wasn't aware that anyone was missing it. And there's been a whole confusion over ignore as well.
Mm.
When you request software, it's because it's been denied. So it seems.
Well, maybe you want to really deny it.
I mean, put an explicit deny so they can't request it. I mean, if it's something that's required.
Or, well, I was going to say hypothetically when they're in learning mode, but you ain't going to get a request for that.
So,
Charles, silent deny is different than deny.
Well, it's the same. It just gives the user a pop-up. Technically, the user's not going to get another pop-up anyway because they've already requested it, and we won't give them the same pop-up unless they reset their history. But we could. I don't object to it being there. It's just nobody's requested the ability to say explicitly
nobody's
denied.
missed it as much as Charles, obviously.
Yeah.
We will discuss and look into that, Charles.
Okay, so we've got, where are we at? We've done web filtering, really easy win. Turn it on, filter what's happening. Again, you can go in and see if those policies, got nice reports on this module, so you can see if you've got loads of policies being hit. You can drill down into them. Most colorful page in ThreatLocker.
Yeah, so for those of you who've been customers for some time, you'll notice that Danny has now become a fan of sexy graphs.
No.
You have?
Not. I'll ingest logs in ones and zeros before.
Yeah, well, you see the world in ones and zeros, but some people like sexy. And as I said, you too now apparently like sexy charts.
Okay, other areas. So we've web content, really easy. Turn it on. Don't put the block policies if you don't want to. It will let you see what's happening. You can show your business, hey, some people are going to site. Look how many ad sites we're hitting. This is what we can do by blocking them with web control. Risky applications, couple of filters. Like I said, country is always a good one. Category, looking for remote access tools. Should be doing that, switching those to deny. You see here, I got nice blue protections on all my 7-zip now. This tells you what it can see. This tells you what it can't. So go through there.
Well, now that's an interesting question. I know the answer to this, but Emilio's asking me, allow an extension and ring fence its access, but only 2 passwords.
The answer is no, unfortunately, because we don't set the permissions on that. It's set
in
Chrome.
Yeah.
So the other thing you should be looking at is right here in the Health Center. Where's the Health Center gone? Up here. We got this software health report. This will actually give you a score risk on your application. So when we first created this report, the first version looks a little bit like this. Told you every application, what countries they were made in, what they had access to. Really big report. It goes down and down and down. Most companies, it's bigger than this. My org's even smaller. But what we did at the top here, we actually have the most 6 important applications you should look at in your environment. So what have we decided is the highest risk? Now, risk is obviously determined based on the probability of it being used against you and the probability of it being... So there's a few things we take into account. One is, could it be weaponized and used against you? So 7-zip is often weaponized and used against you. Secondly, does it have excessive permissions? And also where it was developed.
This is probably the best question that we've been asked thus far. So Benedict has asked, can we block sexy charts?
I would.
Excellent, Benedict. I like that.
Well, we can jump back into our network control because I feel like we were rushed onto.
Well, actually, there was a question about that, which was we show web control blocks as network in the so Craig, currently there's no web control option in the unified audit. Is there a plan to add this, as it currently all comes under network?
Okay, and there's a. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to be very, very cognitive. Oh, did they remove them? They did. That's good. These are action types. And technically, they're not network control. They're not. It's a network action, and web traffic is a network action. So there's no plan to put a network action there. However, I don't know. That's a good point, actually. We can search by individual policies, and I'm wondering, do we have any flags? So let me try and find something that is DraftKings. There may be a filter on here. If not, I will go and put a filter as a type of object, a type of policy. So we have gambling policy. Let me close this. More details. Do we have anything here to say it's a web control policy? We actually don't. We have a lot of policies.
Maybe we should.
Yeah. So what we would probably do is have an extra policy type, and we would say field, and here we'd just basically say policy type. Apparently we don't have one. Yeah, I don't know what that is. That must be new. something to do with Office 365, I'm guessing.
Anyway, file that one under. We will look into it. Andrews asked, can plugins be added to the view approved applications, i.e. the ThreatLocker store, the user app store? Have we
Yeah, web
touched
extensions.
on? Yeah. Have we touched on the app store at all, though?
No, so maybe that's a good time to do that. So we've been building out a lot of obviously deny policies, and now we're going to get to a situation where people are going to want software, and you're going to say, well, you're not allowed it. And we want to make sure our users are not unhappy. So we have this in application control, we have this store option here. And yes, we can add web control extensions. So here is a list of all of the software we allow in our organization. So I'm going to try and download. I'm trying to find the real one. Yeah.
Let this be a lesson to people about Chrome ads being risky.
So I'm going to download PDF element here from my endpoint, and it's going to get blocked because I don't have a policy to allow PDF element. And it's going to pop up here saying PDF element was blocked. Do I want to view alternative applications? So I can do request access from here, and you can see here that made in Canada, Taiwan, and China. If I click view available applications here, it's going to load alternatives now. Because I'm logged in as an admin, it didn't actually filter by PDF. So I'm going to, although I think for some reason I know it works when from the actual pop-up page. Let me just do this. I'm going to block it again. So I can just click view available applications, and it'll actually say, hey, you're trying to get a PDF viewer or writer. Here's some alternatives for you, and it will show you alternative things that are permitted in your organization. So I can go to Adobe Acrobat. It will tell me I can download it from here. It'll give me instructions. You can type these however you want to do it. This is free text. I'll show you how to create that. It allows the users to basically download it, and it will give them the installer, and then they can run that program, and it'll be
run it knowing they will be able to run it, I think is the point. I mean, it's about reducing friction for end users. You don't want them getting frustrated and trying to run 5 different PDF viewers when realistically there's one that's approved by your organization.
So I'm going to go and create a new policy here. And I'm going to say, I'm going to say Firefox. It may already be one here. So I'm going to say Firefox here. Wow, how many Firefoxes are there? Probably Mozilla Firefox will be better.
Josh has asked, can you link this in with the Intune company portal? That is coming soon, Josh.
So I'm going to say I'm going to allow Firefox this or above. There's an API call, so you can actually push to Intune coming very, very soon. We can give it a description. It's given a basic description for me. I can say user installation instructions, download, and run setup.exe. We can say which organization or which groups are allowed this. So I'm going to say my workstations group are allowed it. I can enter a license key. So if they're required to have a license key, which obviously they're not in Firefox, I could put that in here. So the user gets a license key entered. I could restrict to the license count. So I could say that I'm only going to allow this for the first 100 user download because we've only bought 100 users or devices. So users will count the username that downloaded and requested a license. Devices will count the device. I can put a URL or I can upload the installation media. But if I put a URL, so I'll just go firefox.com. Don't even know if that's right. And I can do this. This is really cool. I can say when you request this software, temporarily allow elevation. So the user can now install this software as an admin without being bothered, and allow this one here basically says they can download it multiple times. So if you turn this on, it means they can go in, download Firefox, 3 days later, download Firefox, and they'll get a new elevation policy for those 3 hours. Obviously, the risk being that they know I can elevate Firefox multiple times. This means they can't. And then we can put any ring fencing restrictions we want on it. So we say, I don't want this accessing my files, don't want it going out to the internet, which would kind of be pointless for Firefox. But hey, we could create that policy in the store. What did I miss? It's got to be a URL. Great. And now that's published in my store, and the user can see that and can go and search for it. And the user can always go to the store as well from here. So if they want to see what available applications they have,
Dave Barnes has asked a really good question, which is there any way to test the store policies will be allowed on the client PC? So you create a policy for Firefox, for example, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've got an application control policy to allow Firefox.
It creates one automatically. Does
Okay.
it not? Well, it definitely creates an elevation one, so
okay,
that's a
fine.
good. Well, I can.
Yeah.
We're gonna go off and test that, but
Yeah.
my understanding is if there's no policy, it will create one for you.
Cool. Mike, can you apply store policies to global groups?
I'm going to tell you now by looking.
I believe so, Mike.
Test. Oh, it wants an application name. So someone's asked about web extensions. So what will I'll pick Cooper. Why not? And here's my instructions. And do I have a global group? My understanding was yes, but let me just check I've got a global group because I don't see it as an option. I do, and you can't.
Interesting.
I'm going to report that as a bug.
Yeah.
Bugs get fixed quicker than features.
Yeah. What is our definition of bugs?
If it bugs me,
yes,
it's a bug.
Two other really good ones. Sorry, could we go back to Danny's screen for a second? Craig Moore has commented, someone has too much time on their hands with that new bouncy deploy policies rocket icon. Can you hover over deploy policies?
Oh,
yes. Do you want to explain that to people?
So this here, very, very heavily requested feature. Now, a couple of caveats about this, because if you permit software, it's going to automatically deploy policies for that computer. So if somebody comes in, they say, hey, I want Office, or something, probably not Office because it's probably already there, but let's say I downloaded a new app, you approve it, it's going to say, this computer gets deployed immediately, all their policies, because they've just requested something and we're responding. If you approved it for the entire organization, it's not going to go and push it out to your entire organization because we don't want your agents to use loads of bandwidth if you've got 20,000 endpoints pulling down policies every single approval throughout the day. So what it'll do is it'll actually say, hey, I've got policies to deploy here, and you can hover over this, the bouncy rocket, and it will give you a list of what policies were created since you last deployed. So you can see here that my 7-zip policy was modified, my block unknown, and my delete web control policy. So when I deploy this is going to go down to all of the users, and they'll get the policies.
It was hugely, like, so many people asked for this because you would see the red deploy policies button and not know what was to be deployed. Yeah, people have said long time coming, thank you, nice add-on, etc.
This is currently on beta or portal?
Ooh, good question. I think it's only on beta at the moment.
Very quickly.
James, finally, now I have proof my ops manager doesn't deploy policies. How do we get access to the bouncy deploy policy button? Is it only available in beta?
Just go to beta.threatlocker.com. It's the same live portal, and it will I'm just checking if it's there. No, it's not there on live. It's only there on beta. It should be live within a week. I mean, we're typically running a week behind. Depends if QA find any bugs, but only on beta. But if you just go to beta.threatlocker.com, if you find any problems with it, please report them to us.
Now, interesting one. This has come up twice. It's back to web control for 1 second. With web control, can we block access to personal OneDrive rather than the user's business OneDrive linked to only their Office 365 tenant or approved Office 365 tenants?
Yes. So what you would do is go into web control here, go into policies. You'd make a new policy, and you could block all cloud storage, but let's just say block OneDrive. I don't know if it's SharePoint.com. I think it is. So I think it's SharePoint.com. I'm going to say OneDrive.com as well.
So it will be culchi.sharepoint.com you're permitting.
Well, this is what I'm denying first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and deny these. I guess you could do it in any order you want. And then I'll say deny these two. Click create, and it will block those two. I think if you block the cloud storage, it will do the same thing. And then I'll create a second policy, permit OneDrive. For our org. It doesn't like my domain. There you go. You just put the domain in, you don't put HTTPS. So
Stephen Banks, OneDrive.live.com. Yeah, so you can create a block policy for OneDrive.live.com. That's the personal one.
Oh, that's the personal one. Yes. So that's and all of these are domains, and the nice thing about these is they run in order, so top to bottom. So I've got block OneDrive. I just put allow OneDrive. I thought maybe I didn't hit save. I obviously didn't hit save. Then you create the permit, you put that above it, and you can always say click add, and then hit save. And this one's a permit. I just called it permit for some reason. But basically, these run in order. So you could say, I'm going to allow one user, and I'm going to block the entire organization underneath them. Unlike our application policies, which will change soon, and we'll be able to reorder non-built-ins ahead of built-ins.
Yes.
But these you can run organization policies below personal policies.
A couple of people have asked this about uploading the file to the store. Is there a size limit for installation files?
I don't know.
At a guess, I'd say it's probably 4 gigs. At a guess.
I think that's a reasonable guess.
We think 4 gigs, Peter. Warren has asked, and this is going back quite a bit, but to deploy USB blocking, do we first need to create a policy, or is it just on-off switch in the console?
So if you go into the group, so you can create a policy, or you can go into there's already a policy there by default. So if you go into workstations on the group, by default, there's a policy here called USB workstations. I created additional ones a few weeks ago. So if I obviously delete my additional one, I can go in and click on this and switch it to deny. Otherwise, you can just create a brand new policy.
And again, proviso being, remember, storage control doesn't matter if you're in learning, storage control is going to be applied.
Correct.
So if you break things, you're going to break things immediately, not after you've secured the machine.
If you're in, sorry.
If you're going to break things, you're going to break things immediately.
Oh yes. Well, technically, we have a separate learning mode, but we normally talk about learning mode as application learning mode because we have application, storage, network. I haven't actually tried any of these, though.
Because they actually work really well.
Yeah, so you can go in and you could create a network. So in your maintenance windows, you could actually go in and say network control and storage control. So if you want to do simulations, you could say storage control monitor only. I want to allow that for a period of time.
Yeah.
Now we're up on time, Nelly.
We are. Alexander, is there a good way to block printing in the ThreatLocker but only allow printing to specific printers? Yes. Ringfencing spool service.
Ring-fence spool service to the drivers. And you'd have to know what the drivers are. So again, you have to simulate, see what, because they're all random DLL files. So that's not, you ring-fence it to the network. So there's 2 ways you could do it. One is you could ring-fence a print spooler to only go to certain IP addresses, and then it won't be able to print to other IP addresses. The other way is you could go in and you could say it can't launch drivers for other drivers as well.
I think this ring-fencing spool service should do what they're looking to do.
If it's a network printer, but if you're talking about home printer,
that is true.
You'd have to block the driver from running.
Glenn, now this is a very loaded question. When is network control learning mode coming?
Is it not there?
No, network control learning.
Oh, learning as opposed to monitor only.
Yes.
So here's the challenge with it, and we get asked for this a lot. 99% of the traffic we do not want to learn because it's normally malicious.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's always malicious. It's just there's a lot going on that if you learn, you could leave yourself exposed.
Yes, like denied RDP.
Yes.
We are working on trying to do imports from Microsoft firewall policies, but it seems, and standardized policies. We've created a lot of standardized policies. Honestly, I'll just use your solution engineer and get them to figure it out for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Good advice.
There's so much noise on your own network. Like my computer, I take it home and I don't know what's on my network. Probably my 17-year-old son.
Oh, well, yes. Sons. Yes.
Sons. And it's just so much noise hits my firewall. If I learned that, I'd be scared.
True.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I think we are up. So, guys, I appreciate everyone taking the time today. If you haven't done a demo of ThreatLocker, please go to threatlocker.com. We will email out the checklist for today as well and see if I've got. And just to recap, we filtered bad web content. We install an agent. At this point, you should be pushing that agent out, whatever your choice is, to all of your machines. We should block risky applications, so start blocking those things we really don't want to see. We're not going to go into default deny on too many machines yet. We did it on a few machines last week, but we want to start getting rid of the bad apps. And if we can't block them, contain them, ring fence them. Again, if you've got a solution, well, if you're a ThreatLocker partner, ThreatLocker customer, ThreatLocker trial, use your solution engineer. Call your account manager and say, I need a call with my solution engineer. They will walk you through all of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
In detail. And we will see you next week.